Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters in That podcast. I'm your host, Brian. Today, welcome some special guests. We got Jason Greenberg and the lovely Jennifer from the band Flame Imperishable. How y'all doing today?
Good.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Actually, it was good that I stumbled upon your Facebook post saying about all the bands that inspired you. I know OPF was one of them. And then also about saying like Lord of the Rings, which kind of did give away up there in the top, left corner in my case. So, yeah. So, all right. It was a good thing you did say that. So it was a good thing. You posted a good bill on Facebook. So your marketing came through.
Excellent. Yeah. No, we're super inspired by like a lot of fantasy stuff and kind of a nerd when it comes to that. And I enjoy watching, reading stuff like that. And it seems like adding it to music is like an easy thing to do for me because I don't really have anything important to say. I just like talking about dragons and wizards and stuff. So,
well, then I think you'd be in a punk band afterwards if it was political. Or anything like that.
So. Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of like political music, but
that was transmit rage in a certain way. So yeah,
sure, yeah.
I guess how you both been? I guess what's new?
Oh, well, we just finished the new song "Justice Falls," which is the first single from the new album that we're working on, and we did a music video for it. It's we released a full out-length album 2022, which we kind of started around when COVID happened. So that's kind of like my turnaround time, 2 years. I do music as a hobby. I love it, and I've always written and composed. I've just never been able to figure out how to make money from it. So, I mean, I have a job and I finance my own albums and
we have a studio in our house and
we put the studio together.
Yeah. So we have a lot of fun though. He for Flame Imperishable, he composes the music and does all the production work and I do the vocals and help with the lyrics. So it's a good team effort and we have a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we also don't ever have any distractions from kids or animals or anything like that. So we allows us to focus 100%. Completely lying there. So.
I would say not yet. So, okay. That's up here too. And you get to elaborate more on the music and everything else here just a little bit here too. But Jason and Jennifer, we'll welcome you both here to my podcast. And the way it's going to work is, unfortunately, I sent you the questions a little bit late, so that was my bad. I guess I lost track. Right. So I think we have to improvise, so we'll see how it goes. But we are both gentlemen here, so the lovely lady will go first. So, Jennifer, tell us your backstory here. I guess, how did you become a musician?
Well, I always wanted to be a singer when I was a kid, and my parents just had it in their heads that, it wasn't really worth it to give a little kid vocal lessons. They wanted me to learn piano. And they thought, and I think they ultimately were right, that if I learned piano, that it would teach me, to have good pitch and to understand music theory and things like that were an important foundation for being a good vocalist. And, so it all worked out and I did, I wrote my own songs. They're more like singer-songwriter, like Sarah McLachlan, Tori Amos type music. And then when I went to college at the University of Houston, I was an opera major. But I wanted to start a band. I was 18. My dream was to be like the next Amy Lee from Evanescence, and I wanted to be a rock star. And so I posted some flyers around campus looking for band members, and Jason was the only person who responded. So we started playing. He would play guitar and I would sing and play piano, and we started playing little concerts together, and obviously we started dating and got married. And
you were working on an EP at the time?
I was, yes. Yeah.
And you needed a electric guitar player, somebody to shred through your pop songs.
That's right.
And
yeah. So a lot of good memories though. And it's fun too, like I think as musicians, each song is like a little time capsule of where you were and who you were when you wrote it, right? So I still have that EP and a lot of my early music. And so listening to it, I can remember, oh gosh, that's back when me and Jason were dating. And I remember, going to the Moore School of Music, and we went on a date to Jones Hall to see the Houston Symphony Orchestra. And, so there's
Beethoven's Eighth Symphony.
Yeah, there's just a lot of memories connected to a lot of my early music. And of course, now I still write my own songs, but we work a lot on his
she's
music.
Done 4 albums of original music?
Yes.
All of your own songs that I helped, produce wise, and did bass and guitar stuff.
Yeah.
But that's more like contemporary. I don't know how you would even.
Yeah, singer-songwriter type stuff. Yeah.
Not metal, although we did have a metal singer guest on one of your albums.
True.
I don't know if you've ever heard of the band Falconer.
Is it an indie group, or is it a?
It's a Swedish folk metal band. They've been around for 20-something years, but the singer from there guested on her album.
Yeah, that was fun.
Matthias Blad.
But I love singing on metal music. I love the theatrical element to progressive metal, and of course, a lot of our songs are about classic literature or fantasy or sci-fi, and so there's this that kind of ties into my roots as an opera singer. It's just very theatrical based, focused on storytelling and that sort of thing, and so we have a lot of fun, and it just all works out really well.
For sure.
Right. I guess let's get Jason's story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I started playing guitar at the age of 16, and I was a baseball player growing up, and that was all I ever wanted to do. And then when I discovered guitar, I kind of like started gravitating toward that, and took some little. Actually, it was kind of a funny story because I always wanted to play, but my parents said, no, you can't play because everything you do, you always pretty much outshine your brother. And my brother was playing guitar at the time. So they're like, well, if he quits, then you can take it up. I'm like, okay. So he eventually quit like after a year. And then I took his little Fender Squire and I started, learning, little riffs here and there. And I just kind of like gravitated toward metal, riff-oriented music, I grew up around my dad listening to the Beatles all the time, and that was pretty much the only band I had ever even heard of until I was about 12, But and I knew I'd always wanted to write my own music, so I just kind of like do studying theory and stuff on my own, as I grew. And then when I went to college, I really was tempted to be a music major, but my dad, I think, rightly convinced me that was probably a not very safe way to go. And I studied engineering instead, which worked out because now I can afford to buy music equipment. So that's nice. And I ended up kind of like quitting metal for like, I want to say 2008, around there. And I just studied classical guitar for 10 years. And I just fell in love with classical music and performing. Did some competitions, never won anything, but it was fun. I had like probably 3 hours worth of classical music memorized, for at a certain point, because I was doing a lot of gigs at that back then. But then I kind of got back into metal, and now I'm trying to reincorporate what I've kind of picked up from the classical world into my metal songs. So I've done that with our first album. There's a couple of songs that are just classical guitar, others that I really was kind of doing something similar to what like Bach would do with a fugue, with some like kind of call and response with the bass and then the treble sections going on there, and then that, and just maybe I have like a ADD or whatever they call it nowadays. I don't know, but like I get bored if I have a riff going. It's got to be constantly organically shifting and changing and evolving.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I get bored, and maybe that's not good. I don't know, but
well, it's something that I think is unique about the way you compose music. You never repeat the same part twice in the same way. Like it'll repeat, like you'll have a motif.
Right.
But every time it repeats, it's a little bit different, or you're building on it in some way. And I think that's a unique thing that you do, and it's really cool.
I've always felt like kind of writing a song is a lot like writing a story,
Mm-hmm.
And the little melody motifs you have in the beginning of your song are kind of like the characters you introduce in the first chapter, and they'll be reintroduced throughout the song organically, but in different contexts, and you see different traits of their personality showing. And then toward the end of the story or the song, you've come full circle. You've learned, you've grown as a character, and now you're kind of being viewed by the audience or listener in a completely new way, although you're still the same person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like Frodo in the beginning, and then Frodo after, when he gets back to the Shire, and he's not the same Hobbit he was, but he's still Frodo. Yeah.
Post-traumatic stress Frodo, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good comparison right there, but yeah. I think I might have mentioned it too, but are you guys based out of Texas?
Yeah, we're in Houston.
Houston?
Have we met before?
Actually, no, we have not. Actually, the first time I actually met you was just through Facebook, what I was mentioning earlier with the whole thing with the post.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was 50-50, so I figured, worth a shot. And hey, they're into the fancy stuff that I'm into as well as the metal bands as well. So.
That's great. That's awesome.
And I guess, speaking of which, can you mention about those bands that really influenced your style of music real quick?
Oh, sure. Well, I would probably say one of my all-time favorites is Blind Guardian, Dream Theater, Opeth, back when they were doing progressive metal, Falconer, obviously, and then I also liked a lot of classic prog rock, like Kansas was one of my favorite bands, Jethro Tull, and we're also kind of into the Swedish death metal stuff. Yeah, early In Flames, so even new In Flames I still kind of like, but Soilwork. I don't know. There's probably a dozen bands that I'm always listening to. Power metal, Rhapsody of Fire, or Rhapsody as they were back when I listened to them. Luca Turilli, he's one of my favorite composers from Rhapsody, and plus all the classical music I mentioned before. I've really loved the music of Bach, Bartok, and Mauro Giuliani, another Italian composer. Just kind of a romantic era, right after the time of Beethoven, where kind of classical guitar was still a small niche part of the classical world, but it was they were using really neat methods to emulate an entire orchestra all on one single instrument on a guitar. Mm-hmm. So it's using all of the devices, natural harmonics, different percussive elements, and of course you've got your bass with your thumb, and then your treble with your I, M, and A fingers, kind of doing a whole orchestra just on a guitar, and it's amazing to me. But now, and then when you transition that over to metal, you've got it's definitely easier in a way because you don't have to do everything all at once on one hand. But then there's a lot more you need to balance and figure out how to make work in a way that's cohesive and not just doesn't sound like a cacophony of noise, which some bands might actually be going for that. But I'm trying to have some sort of melody and coherence to it, and have a chaos, but have it resolve.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that storytelling,
Yeah, you gotta
narrative.
You gotta have a lot of conflict and then resolution that pays off, and it feels satisfying, So
yeah.
I'm gonna say it's Cryptopsy that you're thinking of. That
Cryptopsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got one of their albums. It's that. What every time I'm in the mood to just come up with something that's completely out of content, a different way of thinking, I'll listen to some like tech death metal or something like that, and that'll just break all of the rules I normally have in my head, and maybe I'll come up with something creative that way. But
Jose, we've forsaken time signatures, counting, and all sorts of other things just to make heavy metal music. So yeah.
Yeah. No, you can't have a song in just 4/4 the entire time. That's boring.
No. That's why we're metal. We like to break those boundaries. So, yeah.
Of course, it all depends on how you count it. I guess you could count it in 4/4, but it's actually 16/5. Something weird. That's
some absurd number. Yeah. So, yeah. Like I said, Jen.
Oh, as far as bands that I draw inspiration from?
I guess bands, and I know you mentioned opera, so I don't know too many opera singers, to be honest. So,
I don't either anymore. I think when it comes to vocals, as far as metal goes, I really admire Tarja, and so I really loved like Old Nightwish when she was with the band. I love Within Temptation. I love all their stuff, honestly, though. Clear from like their earlier albums, like Mother Earth, right up to I haven't listened to their latest release, but
Hydra.
yeah, I haven't listened. No, I like Hydra. I thought they had another one more recently.
I think they do, but I can't remember.
I can't remember, but yeah, I like Hydra a lot. But anyway, so I just think she's got such a gorgeous voice, and so I've already mentioned like my early influences: Tori Amos, Sarah McLachlan. So I tend to kind of I also really like Celtic music, folk music, and
Lorena
McKennitt. And so I tend to take opera technique, but kind of a Celtic sound, and kind of apply that to metal music. And I find that it creates a nice contrast. You've got the just very theatrical and powerful, loud music, and then just sort of these angelic vocals that sort of float above it. And I really like that effect. It's very dramatic, very theatrical, kind of otherworldly. And honestly, I think that style of music is really apropos for like film. So yeah, but anyway, that's kind of my vision and my where I get my inspiration from.
And you've got a weird affinity for deathcore. Not weird, but
that's true.
It's a surprising.
I really like it. Yes, I obviously can't make those sounds myself, but I enjoy listening to them.
Try getting the pig squeals going first. So.
Yeah, that's what we do with the cat. We just bring them up to the mic. Yeah.
I thought it would have been a Porky Pig or something like that compared to.
Well, you work with we don't have a pig at the house. We do have a cat.
All right, that works.
But yeah.
Actually, one of the bands you kind of kept describing was, or actually one that came to mind was actually Flesh God Apocalypse. I don't know if you heard about that group.
Yeah, I have. I'm not like totally familiar with all of their music, but I have like listened to them, and they kind of remind me of maybe like early Dimmu Borgir when maybe not too early, but right after Puritanical. Was it? Is that the album? I don't know, but they became very symphonic back then, and they kind of remind me of a newer, more fresh version of Dimmu Borgir, what they were doing back in the early 2000s, I think, maybe. But really talented band, though. I love that stuff.
I was minus the orchestral set and everything too. I think it was just one guy doing all the magic. So,
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
It was
Anytime we meet someone else, like another group or band, that where it's just one or two people doing everything. I have so much respect for that. I think it's really cool. And one of the bands I really like is Spirit Box. So obviously, well, her clean vocals, though, actually, I think her clean vocals are really beautiful. But I can't make the scary noises she does.
Trying to do cellar door.
Yeah.
Actually, comparing like some of the female vocalists, these three that came to mind, and unfortunately, the name escapes me because there's the one from Arch Enemy, and then
Alyssa Gluz, or is that her name?
Alyssa, yeah, is her first name.
White Gluz, yeah.
And there's Tatiana from Ginger. Then you got Courtney from Spirit Box. So yeah.
Thank you. Well, I'm very complimented. I think Courtney in particular is gorgeous voice.
I'll say singing voice, and then I think it was their first EP. It's starting to escape me right now because I haven't listened to it in a while.
Well, they had a ton of singles. In fact, I think initially when Spirit Box, at least when I first connected with them, all they had was singles. Like they had Holy Roller, they had.
Well, it's interesting that now, by the time their first album came out, they had millions of listeners.
Yeah.
And the game has changed because we're old school. We think of you got to release an album, 10, 12 songs on it. But nowadays, people are releasing single songs, building up an audience, and all they've got are maybe 6 singles released, and they've got 1 million followers.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But they've never released an album, and that's kind of what I was. I'm not sure. I'm a little undecided right now what we're going to do with the next album. If we're going to wait and release everything all at once, or if I'll probably end up doing maybe 2 or 3 singles before we just unleash the entire thing. But yeah, it's interesting how the world has changed with streaming.
Yeah, for sure.
People just don't have the attention span to listen to an entire album. So why go through all that effort to release everything when you could be using a whole marketing train to continually be releasing tracks in a timely manner, keeping people afresh and constantly being letting people know who you are because you're constantly releasing something new.
Yeah,
it's actually a really brilliant marketing strategy.
It is. Well, and I think the way that people are starting to discover more and more music is they're just listening to the same old bands they've always listened to, but then, because they're streaming it on Spotify or whatever, it starts dropping similar bands into their stream. And so, eventually that new music starts getting dropped into their stream, and they're like, oh, what band is this? And they check it out, and, they're just, I've started discovering new music that way. It's totally different. I remember being a teenager and, with my boombox, recording my favorite songs off the radio with a cassette player. Yeah. And, or a cassette tape. And, you would just sit there next to the boombox, and as soon as you started hearing your song come on, the one that you wanted to record, you'd hit record real quick. That's how it was my teenage years. And so it's completely changed. My daughter is 12, and she's already started telling me she's like, Mom, you realize that if you just swipe, you can watch a new reel. You don't have to close it and go to the next reel. She's telling me how to use technology. It's, yeah.
It's a Gen Z phase. So yeah.
Very old. I feel very old.
Jeez. It's bad.
I'm in my 30s and I feel old.
So it's bad then when your kids tell you how things go. So.
Yeah. Oh well.
Live and learn. That's what they say. And speaking of which, your band Flame Imperishable. So I guess let's get the history about that, and where'd you get the name?
Well, the name came from the Silmarillion, from Tolkien. It's the history of Middle Earth, and the Flame Imperishable was basically the secret fire that Iluvatar uses to create life in Middle Earth. So it's kind of I loved the idea of it, and it kind of reminded me, we're Christians, and we kind of see a parallel between the way Tolkien, his creation account in Middle Earth, very similar to how God does it in the Bible too. So I just thought that was a beautiful imagery, mm-hmm. and it's also fantasy related, Tolkien, and we're like I said, I'm kind of nerdy and I love stuff like that. So I wanted people to see our band name and say, oh, they sound kind of nerdy, or they're into fantasy stuff, and that's kind of what I was going for with that.
Yeah. We wanted a name that people would equate with, the Lord of the Rings, with fantasy, and but at the same time, it's it's not quite as on the nose, as a lot of other names we could have picked.
It's not like we called our band Gandalf or something like that.
Right, yeah. And so, which,
exist.
that'd be a fine name too, but we wanted something a little more niche, but still Tolkien related.
And Thulkandra was already taken by a black metal
I really
band
that's C.S. Lewis.
Yeah. I thought that was a cool band name. I looked it up, and a black metal band has that. And I was like, do you guys realize that he was like a Christian author?
And I don't think that,
they are a pretty cool band, though. I like them.
Yeah. I don't think that they write about fantasy, though. At least the songs I pulled up weren't. But
I can't understand what they're saying.
But yeah, so that's kind of the story behind.
So that's the story behind the name. You wanted to know the history of the band.
Oh, right.
So I would say right around when COVID started, I put out, like, I think I was on Facebook or something. I just said, hey, does anybody want to collaborate on an album with me?
Yeah.
Because I had a handful of songs at that time, and a guy named Greg Rossetti from the band Suspire.
Yeah.
Another prog metal band based out of New Jersey. He responded and said, hey, I'd be interested. So we ended up working together through the song. He's actually a classical composer as well, and he PhD and very, very well educated musically. Mm-hmm. And he helped me with all the production on the album. Plus, he plays saxophone on it, and then so also some orchestration, symphonic stuff. And we put out that album, and took us about 2 years. A handful of songs, kind of about half of them were about Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or whatever. The other half were about made up fantasy stories we just kind of did on our own. One was kind of like about Revelation and the apocalypse, and kind of veiled though, because it was a very angry song. And then because it was kind of
it was like the middle of COVID too, so it was like everything was just kind of irritating.
And we have an awesome Zelda song on there too.
Oh yes, the Zelda song was really fun.
Yeah, but it's called Shrine of Resurrection, only because I was afraid of getting sued by Nintendo if we called it Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
So, but if you listen to it, you'll hear like snippets of notes clustered together that harken back to the iconic Hyrule theme. But also, I didn't want to get sued, so we're very like.
It's veiled, but I think anybody familiar with the games, even peripherally, will get it.
Oh yeah.
It's funny though. I actually emailed Nintendo and asked them. I was like, are we allowed to like say the names of actual places in the game, or like the name of the game in the song? And their response was basically as long as you're not stealing our intellectual property, it's fine. Good luck. I'm just like, but.
Yeah. It is a little tricky, especially if you're writing music that's inspired by other intellectual properties.
Yeah.
Like we had one song that was about the character Kaladin from the Stormlight Archive, Brandon Sanderson. Mm-hmm. And he had I looked up on his website, he had like his policy based on like fan fiction or fan like
music and stuff like that.
Or whatever. Yeah. And it was made me a little nervous the way it was worded. I was just like, I'm gonna alter some of my lyrics just to be a little less on the nose, So so here we are. We've been a band, I guess, for 4 years now. We revamped our logo just recently. Mm-hmm. The first logo was amazingly drawn, but it kind of looked like a black metal band. So I think we threw a little bit people off what our actual sound was. So the new logo, I think, is definitely more readable, and it looks more like a power progressive fantasy style band.
Well, I'm not as familiar with like the different fonts of different types of metal genre. Like that's such a funny idea to me, because like I love metal music, but I've never paid attention to stuff like that. And so when Jason was like, "Oh, that font looks like black metal," I was like, "What?"
It's very interesting how black metal bands have a very similar style band logo.
Yeah.
Death metal bands versus prog metal bands, thrash metal bands. They all like thrash metal bands are very angular logos. You know what I mean? Like, and then I don't know, but
yeah. But the one we have now, like I would say, it looks more like something you'd even like if you're talking about book titles or something. It's the sort of thing you'd see on a fantasy book as well, and so it just kind of all around fits our style and our theme.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess while we're on the topic of COVID here too, so I guess how bad was COVID for both of you personally, musical wise, and then family wise?
Well, maybe this sounds bad, but I loved that time. And the reason is like I got to work from home for 4 years.
Yeah.
And well, maybe three.
Three, yeah.
3 years. And that's actually the reason I had all this extra time on my hands to write and work on music. All that time I'd usually spend on the car driving to work.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful time for us because we got to be at home all the time. The kids were home, and we just grew closer as a family. So
yeah.
Of course, it was
hard too. I mean, it was scary, especially in the beginning, as parents, before we knew what it was or how it was going to affect, people. Of course, our first thought was like, are our kids going to be okay? Like, what is this? Because, every time you send your kid to, the nursery at church or to school, I mean, it's like they pick up every bug or virus that's going around. It's like you get everything. And so when this, new pandemic came along, I was like, well, crap, we're going to get this. And if this is really as bad as, it sounds, this is going to be terrible. And so it was really scary initially, but I don't even know if we ever got it.
We never got it. Anyone in our family. My dad had it once. Or actually, my dad had it twice.
Yeah.
But he never showed a symptom.
Yeah, he was asymptomatic.
For some reason, he had tests and he was positive.
Well, I don't even know why he tested himself, honestly, because he didn't have any.
Because he was exposed by someone.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. And then he tested himself. He's positive. So we stayed away from him for 3 weeks. We
were like, go stay at your house and we'll be over here.
But he never got sick. And
yeah.
So we're thankful. Nobody that we know was that sick or
we were very, very blessed. Yeah.
So I probably shouldn't have said it was a fun time, but
it was fun in the sense that, because everything was from home and that model just really worked well for us for quite some years. And we got a home gym and stuff set up in our garage now. And it's just cool. It helps you, just that model of like, when you're able to work from home, teach your kids from home, it makes everything much more family centric. And, so we just focused on making that work as well as it could, just made the best of that situation. And yeah, grateful that we made it through. So.
Yeah, it was, and you mentioned it was nice because, the gym's all closed, and we love going to the gym and working out.
Yeah.
But so we just bought some equipment, stuck it in the garage, and every lunch break I had, we go out there and work out for an hour, and I heard stories about people like having health problems when we're stuck at home, but we were the opposite. We got super buff and healthy, and then we went back to work.
So they should turn to you for advice and for home gym workouts. So
yeah. No, he could be a fitness trainer. He definitely could.
It's a nice little side hustle right there. Well,
there you
financing for the.
I don't get it. I try to train her and she gets mad at me. I'm like, no, you can do more weight than that. You could do another set. And
just thinking you're Gunnery Sergeant Hardman from Full Metal Jacket.
It's different when you're married to your fitness trainer, though. That's not, I don't know.
Then every time I try to push you to do something harder, you feel like I'm being critical.
Yeah, when you have a fitness trainer, it's like you get mad at them for pushing you, but then they leave or you go home and then you don't have to look at them or talk to them for the rest of the day, and it's fine. But when you're living with someone who's trying to be your fitness trainer, complicates things.
Well, thank you very much. Can I be in charge for once in a while?
Yeah.
Actually, I would say, Jason, in the same way, I kind of did like it too because it was better working from home, and I got the best benefit of all, nap time.
There you
Oh,
go.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
I did. Maybe I can show it to you, but one of my little projects I did when I was working from home is I had all that extra time. So I love video games too, right? So I built my own like arcade
Get plugged
cabinet.
in there. Just be careful.
Let me see if I can show it to you. It's over here. See it over there? Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I built that thing from like the ground up, and
Yeah.
it was fun.
And
Now we have a arcade in our house.
Yeah,
It doesn't require quarters though.
no quarters, thankfully.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to sneak the quarters out of a little chilling every once in a while. So,
Yeah, that was fun.
yeah. But in all seriousness, it's good to see you both are doing well there. So it's good to stay safe and everything there too.
Yeah, thank you
Thanks.
too.
And I guess, how far are you guys outside of Houston? I don't know how extensive Houston is. 'Cause I know one, I got impacted by hurricanes, and then there's
Oh yeah.
COVID and music scene. So I guess how's Houston been? Because I thought they got hit recently with a hurricane coming through.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, yes.
Yeah, we had a tornado went through our neighborhood actually, which is really unusual. Severely damaged some of our neighbors' homes and damaged some siding on our house. And before we were able to get that fixed, Hurricane Beryl came through. And so then we got some
Knocked the boards off our house.
knocked the rest of the boards off our house. They were loosened by the tornado, but then they were just totally pulled off. Got some minor water damage, but as far as damage goes, we did pretty good. But yeah, it's been an active year. I don't know.
I think the worst part was just having the electricity out for close to a week.
Yes.
And it's like 100 degrees outside.
Yeah, that's not fun. Especially when you've got 3 kids and
Especially when it happened twice, like in the summer.
Yes.
Like,
well, it was a tornado and then the hurricane. And the kids, it's so funny with kids because I'll be like, the electricity's out. And they'll be like, well, can we play Nintendo? And I'm like, no. The electricity's out.
there were literally
Netflix?
power
No.
lines resting on our roof.
Yes,
like,
we had,
after
yes.
the tornado. So
That was horrible. That was actually, for me, that was the scariest part was we had some big power lines like this thick fall on our house. And some of our neighbors even had burn marks on their house where the power lines fell. And they just laid on our house for I think it was 5 days. And we just, crossed our fingers that they would move them before they turned the power back on because that would not be cool. So, yeah. But, I mean, here we are. Survived.
I see.
hopefully no more.
Yep.
I'm done with hurricanes.
Yeah, could definitely do without that. But, I mean, no matter where you live, there's some sort of, weather phenomenon that you have to deal with. So it hardly ever freezes here, so we never get snow. So there's that it's a good part of it.
Little balance, that'll do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Where I'm from in the Pittsburgh region, up in Pennsylvania, I'd say ours,
yeah.
you don't really get the earthquakes. I think you pretty much get strong winds. I think you get squalls. They're as close to a tornado as you're probably going to get.
Yeah.
So some flooding depending on how much rain's coming through. But I mean, it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. Nice day.
Y'all get a lot of snow though, right?
Not recently, no.
No?
So it's pretty much been saving for the early parts of next year, for instance.
Gotcha.
So maybe July to maybe some parts in April, depending on what goes on. So
wow, yeah.
but not recently in December. It's never a winter wonderland when Christmas rolls around.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Just cold and wet, probably.
Yeah.
Part, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Very miserable.
Yeah, that's pretty much what our whole winters are here. Just
Except the cold part.
yeah,
Sometimes
40
cold.
degrees and raining is pretty typical. So
I'll take it. I'm tired of this 110 degrees.
just want to stay in bed longer with the fan blowing on you too.
Oh goodness, yeah.
Actually, I was kind of leading to this part here. I guess how's the music scene been in around Houston from your perspective?
I think it's pretty good. I'm probably not the right person to ask this question, only because, like I said, we got 3 kids, and how often do we get to go out nowadays? It's not that often. I know there's probably at least 3 metal clubs in our area where a lot of local metal bands will play. And of course, we have the bigger venues over downtown Houston, House of Blues. There's the White Oak Music Hall, and a lot of the big metal acts that are touring will go through there. And it's a really fantastic venue out there. I've been out there a couple times.
What's the one that Demon Hunter played at out in?
I don't remember the name of the venue.
Yeah.
But
that's pretty far south, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Houston's weird. It's very, very spread out. So it can take you like 2 hours to just drive from one end of Houston to another. So
yeah. No, there's a lot of metal local bands that regularly perform out here. Like I said, we don't tend to go out that often because we're old and we're boring.
There's a lot of, I think, if you like the music scene in Houston in general, though, it tends to be more jazz oriented. I think it's pretty big in this area.
Yeah, there's a lot of jazz clubs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Which isn't really our thing, but still art, so that's good.
I definitely admire those players. But
oh my goodness, yeah, I could never improvise like that. That's a special talent.
Well,
that's for sure. Yeah. It's good to see about the music scene in Houston, even though I know it's got hit with those natural disasters. But in other podcast interviews that I have done, they've always talked about like how the music scene's been like in decline, and like COVID seemed to like knock it on its butt, to say the least.
Yeah.
So, and it's at least slowly been rising, but it's more like cover groups and some tribute bands here and there too. So imagine it's maybe sort of the same way in Houston.
I've got a friend who's in a cover band. They do quite a bit, and the thing about cover bands is you're guaranteed to get paid because people will pay to go see a good cover band play. But original stuff, it's much harder to get people to be interested.
Yeah.
And case in point, like when we do a YouTube music video, we'll do a cover of like a Ghost song on there. Gets lots of thousands of views. And then we put one of our songs up there. Crickets, But the new song is actually doing pretty well. We're almost hit 2,000 views for it, and it's only been up there for about a week, so it's doing well.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's nice. It's fun too. One thing I really like about, I think, the metal community is how supportive they are of artists. At least I find, like with my original music, singer-songwriter stuff, it's very hard to get feedback. I know people listen to it, but they don't really say anything. Whereas with the metal, and that's not even because they don't like it. Like they might like it. They just, personality-wise, it's not their thing to comment on videos. And so you just don't hear from them as much. But the metal community is very much
passionate,
very passionate, very like, they'll leave comments, they'll post, they'll share your stuff. And they're very involved in supporting, indie bands and the bands that they're passionate about. And I've found that really refreshing and cool and enjoyable. So very much enjoyed that.
That's good to hear. And actually, before we jump into the whole thing with social media and that stuff here too. First off, just in terms of fantasy, what's the one poster behind Jennifer there? Between it and and the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's the Count of Monte Cristo.
Okay, Count of Monte Cristo. All right.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite movies too. So.
I was trying to make it out earlier. I don't know why it was striking me like an Obi-Wan Kenobi at first.
It's a hard poster to see.
Yeah, it might be a glare.
He does look kind of like he's got a Jedi thing going on because he's got his sword like this and he's like down like this, so you can just see his eyes, and it definitely looks like a Jedi pose. But yeah.
Well, I had recently read that book, and I'm always struck by how different the movie is from the book.
Yeah.
And even though I love that movie, it's not the same thing at all. And it's kind of what inspired me with the lyrics on Justice Falls to kind of
Write something close to the book.
Yeah, write something kind of like inspired by that Count of Monte Cristo. The book version. But
yeah.
Actually, speaking of fantasy. Oh, sorry. What were you going to say?
Go ahead. No, I was going to say we actually have Jim Caviezel signed our DVD of the book.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to say about the fantasy ones. A couple ones I've actually picked up. One was actually from Steve Erickson's Malazan Book of the Fallen. Have you ever heard of that? Speaking of devil.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
It's kind of funny you said that. I had the book right on my desk.
You just have that one, or do you have like the whole book series?
No, I'm on page.
You have the whole series though, or
no? I've just got the first book.
Yeah.
I'm on. What page is it? 161. Not that far yet. But
I'd say he's got. He's kind of a writer. I want to say that because I had to kind of like read through like some of the things again, just to, like understand like what's he getting at here, especially some of the dialogue and like some of the vocabulary that he was using there too, because it didn't strike me as very concise as like some of the other ones, like maybe how Tolkien's was.
Yeah, I'm wondering how long it takes before you, because at a certain point when you start a new author, especially when they're doing fantasy and they've kind of doing their own world building, it takes an acclimation period before you kind of intuitively understand the way they're writing and pick it up a little bit better, maybe because of all the different new terms and words they're inventing sometimes, you know what I mean? But it can be a challenge, but once you get past that initial hurdle, it becomes a lot more engrossing, you know.
I wasn't sure if you're gonna do like something with Game of Thrones next.
You know, I've got a weird story with Game of Thrones.
Oh, really?
Not a story, but I've read probably I never finished the last book that he did of Game of Thrones, but I've never seen the show, and I probably never will. And I really enjoyed probably the first couple books in that series, but I kind of became a little turned off just because I was waiting for it to go somewhere, and it just feels so violent and depressing, and all of the characters I liked got killed, and it just kind of like I just needed to take a break from it because I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard when your favorite characters die. I know this is like kids' books, but like in Harry Potter when Gandalf died, I was like, really?
Gandalf?
Not Gandalf. Oh my gosh.
Dumbledore.
Thank you. I'm thinking too much of Lord of the Rings. When Dumbledore died, I was like, really? Like, how am I going to continue this series?
Spoilers.
Well, come on. They've been out for a while. If people don't know yet, then I just don't know.
He's in the middle of the sixth book, and he didn't know about that. Now you just blew it.
Actually, I was reading through 7. This was actually a while back, and I probably got halfway through 7, and for some reason I just stopped. I didn't do it anymore. I don't know why. I think life just got in the way. So
Yeah.
That happens to me with some books sometimes. I just put it down one day, and then no reason why.
And it's hard to pick things like that back up, like once you set it down. So, you lose the suspense or whatever, and it's hard to get back into it.
Yeah.
I would say Erickson's sort of the same way, at least maybe in his early books, and then at least as the good guy, he's kicking some ass afterwards.
Nice.
So not much I will spoil. You have to see it on your own. So
okay, cool.
Okay. But I guess let's jump into some of the gear you guys use. So I guess what do you got here in the studio, and I guess what do you guys use to make the magic happen?
I've got an AKG condenser mic. That's what we use for most of our vocals, and I will use it on my Mesa cabinet. I've got a Mark V back there. It's the 35 watt version. My guitar is an Ibanez 7-string Prestige model. That's kind of like my go-to metal. I've got another Ibanez 5-string bass. It's fine. I'm not a big bass guy, so it gets the job done. My classical guitar is handmade by a luthier out of Mexico named Rafael Granados. And I used to joke with people that it was worth more than my car. but it's not anymore.
Anymore.
Well, I used to have a really crappy car. We recently, it actually it completely fell apart while I was driving to work one day. And then
you were just rolling down the freeway.
Yeah, you know that cartoon of Fred Flintstone driving, and then all of a sudden the wheels fall off, and he's just his scraping on the pavement. You know? Yeah. And then that's what happened.
Wasn't quite that bad, but
I put speed through and just start carrying the weight the whole way to work. So yeah.
Yeah. And then it was a small car too, so I probably could have carried it to work. What else do we have here? Got my Apollo Twin Universal Audio interface. We use Logic Pro X for recording. I we've got several plugins that we use for the studio type stuff, but I really like just the sound of for guitar miking the amp and not just using a digital plug-in. I've always liked Mesa. It's kind of saved up a lot for it, and that's what I went with. So
I sing with my voice, so
that's all we need. Yeah.
Her equipment was much cheaper.
My instrument, it came with the rest of me, so.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I guess I'm not a huge gear guy, I don't know a whole lot about all of the new technology and stuff, but I try to spend more time practicing than spending money on stuff, but you know how that goes. And then but I really do like my guitar and my amp, and they get loud, so that does the trick for me.
Do you use Logic Pro whenever you're doing the drums?
When I'm writing, I will use Logic Pro. We have Easy Drummer, and I've got some really good metal drum samples in there. So I'll program all the drums myself, and I will hire a studio drummer to play the parts, and I'll tell him, hey, I'm not a drummer. You make it better than what I've got here, but use this as a guide, And then I'll have him send me the stems after he records them, and then I'll just plug them into my project, and that's usually how we do it. So, but it makes it easier. Then I guess it's really great to have a demo to be able to give to somebody across the country who's never heard your song and say, hey, this is
what we're going
for. I want.
Yeah.
And nowadays you can do that kind of thing, whereas before you'd have to find somebody local, and
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. The world is.
I'm a drummer as well, so
yeah. Awesome. Very cool.
I do use Logic Pro, but mine's a Superior drummer, so that's the one that I've been using. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's like the Meshuggah samples, or I think they used to be that. I don't know. But back when the first Superior drummer came out, maybe, but it's
those are three, so I don't know what sort of samples they're using. I thought they were just using legit drum samples that they pulled out of their studio from numerous drum sets that they put up.
Yeah, there's if you go on the Easy Drummer or Tune Tracks website, they've got so many kits now you can buy or download, and they all sound pretty good depending on what style you're going for. But yeah.
Right. But I'm throwing it out there. If you guys do need any help, I'm here for you.
Thank you.
Are you into really heavy thrash metal, or what is your style that you would typically play?
I've been doing a lot of metal. I've actually been on a thrash metal run because I covered all of Slayer's Hello Waits, and now I'm trying to finish up Death Angels, the Ultra Violence here pretty soon. So.
Oh wow, that's challenging stuff.
I try. I would say it's probably not perfect, but I at least try to get as best as I can after memorizing it and listening to it so many times. So
cool. Have you put up YouTube videos?
I've done drum covers, yeah.
Okay,
so that's what you mean.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
I've also done drumming on my own little music project I'm doing called Demiurge. So
Oh, very cool.
it was actually a friend of mine who's also based out of Texas, and I forget which part it was. I think it was like more the northern half of Texas there.
Okay.
And Way at the Bridge is his band name. TJ Garcia is his real name. So
Okay.
Nice.
he gives me a little doom metal sort of music. So
Oh.
we just mess around with it, and hey, it's all in good fun. It's all in
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess when you guys are creating a song, for instance, have you ever done it where you maybe had some lyrics written and then put the music around it? Or have you always done music first and then lyrics and then vocals last?
It's funny because we have completely different approaches.
Yeah.
When I'm writing a song, I'll do all the music first, and then I'll have ideas for where vocals would fit, and then we'll kind of collaborate, and then I'll shift things around.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we'll do is once we get the most of the structure of the song kind of set up, I'll have her come in and just kind of sing melody, no words, but just kind of ahs and oohs. And then once we find something we're kind of happy with, and we'll kind of fit lyrics over that. But since she's a singer-songwriter, 99% of the time when she writes a song, she does all the vocal, lyrics, and melody first.
Yes, yeah.
And then the music comes after that.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of the way I do it. So we kind of balance each other out, I think. So
yeah. It's funny. It's like when I write a song, usually what happens is a melody with the lyrics pops into my head. It can just be a simple little sentence with a melody, and then I just build all around that. Usually a verse comes into my head first, and I build the song around that. And so it'll take me like maybe 20 minutes to get all the melody and the lyrics ironed out. And then I just go and figure out the chords on the piano, and I work, over the next couple days or weeks, I'll compose a piano arrangement around it. That's usually how I function. So.
And she's read probably over 500 songs.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. And me, I will spend the amount of time it takes to write 500 songs on one song and just put a lot of notes in it.
Yes. Yeah, well, his songs are way more detailed than mine. So mine, it's just vocals and piano, and the piano doesn't have to be super elaborate. It can even sometimes just be chords, rolled or in different patterns. But he really enjoys creating each song is like a symphony, just a whole orchestration of, between the electric guitars and the drums, and sometimes we do saxophone, or like a couple times we've done violin. And so just having all of that, it's much more complex, and he really invests a ton of time into it.
Yeah, I really have a difficult time writing a simple song. I don't know. I think I just get
He
bored.
doesn't know how to do that.
The simplest song I have ever written was probably
a ballad.
Yeah, it was a ballad, but
yeah,
I guess listen to the Zelda song if you get a chance. It's
not
weird.
Simple.
Yeah, it's weird.
Spoiler alert.
Like so many things. So you guys say it's a story of your life, but
yeah.
I guess so. When you guys do the lyrics, I know you mentioned about all the fantasy elements. I guess do you just take maybe certain things from like the books you read and try to put in the lyrics to quote unquote like paraphrase it per se?
Sometimes, usually when I'm writing lyrics, because he composes all the music first, I try to kind of tap into the mood of the music. So, okay, this sounds dark and haunting. Let's think of a story, that is, maybe disturbing or, dark and haunting. And so I'll pick a fantasy story or a, Greek myth that I think would kind of fit the spirit of the sound that he's got. And then we sort of, we'll start with I can't remember how we did.
Which song?
Huh?
Which song?
I'm trying to think of I shouldn't have gone off on that rabbit trail. I was going to try to use the song as an example, then I blanked on the title.
Oh.
But yeah, just like, and the Zelda song, I think, is a good example of it at that. So he came up with this pretty uplifting, but epic sounding and kind of Celtic sounding melody. And I was like, well, let's make this Zelda. And so it kind of evolved into that. And I read up on, because I don't play video games much myself, but I like to watch him play video games. And so I read up on like the different lore and the stories behind some of the games, and I incorporated that into the lyrics. And yeah, so it's fun.
Yeah, a lot of times it just depends on what I'm feeling inspired by at the moment.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
For instance, I was reading through The Count of Monte Cristo, and it just subject matter really I felt compelling, and I've never heard anybody write a song about Count of Monte Cristo before.
Yeah.
Maybe someone has, but I've never heard it, and I'm pretty proud of what we came up with. So
yeah.
We've done like Tolkien inspired lyrics as well. Reading through the Silmarillion and just kind of pulling out little just facets of the poetry that he wrote in there. And then, we've got some songs that are just completely original stories.
Yeah.
That were, I would say, very similar in nature to just an epic mythological tale, but just something we made up. But
yeah, or kind of like a Hans Christian Andersen, the one with the
Scarlet Gale.
Scarlet Gale, thank you. It's about this a woman who drowns at sea, and her husband decides to avenge her, but of course he's fighting a storm, and so there's kind of this tilting at windmills sort of theme. But yeah, it kind of reminded me of like theme, like mood wise, like The Little Match Girl or something like that. It's very sad, it's very somber, but of course in the song you've got this just rage and of the husband, that this injustice that happened. And so yeah, it's fun. It gives us a very broad emotional palette to work with. We can go anywhere from Link in Zelda to almost like a Mary Shelley type vibe.
But the nice thing for the new album, rather than spend all this time on lyrics and trying to be artistic and stuff, I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT to write lyrics for me and call it a day.
No, I refuse. I will not sing it.
Sometimes I wonder about bands. Some of the lyrics I've seen from some of the fantasy styled bands, you kind of wonder. It's like, did you just? Some of them sound so generic. I won't say anything.
Well,
you know what I mean.
That's actually a huge problem right now in the literary world, because I'm an author. I have a couple books out, and there are authors who are having their entire books written by AI, and they sell them and they make money. And so it's like I can't remember. I came across this guy's profile. I think it was on X, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm 23 years old and I've written, 900 books." And I'm like, "What? Like, dude, there's no way on earth. Like, what are you talking about? Like, just come on."
He wrote the word book 900 times.
I was like, "Are these children's books?" Like, I'm so confused. But it's a big controversy right now, actually.
So just in case you didn't get my sarcasm, I'm not going to use ChatGPT for lyrics.
No,
that was a joke.
No, we're not doing that.
Don't want to get canceled here.
Oh, you're fine. Actually, what do they call those books where you just have the title of the book, but inside it's just blank pages?
Oh yeah.
Choose your own.
No. Not choose your own adventure. Like write your own adventure.
Those were cool. Yeah, write your own adventure.
Something like that. That would be an idea, but it's more about to be like a sarcastic sort of gag or whatever it is. So,
oh yeah, that's funny.
And actually, have you used any AI for like music and art wise in terms of album part work or anything?
No, I have not. The album artwork I used was one of them, an artist named Sam Nelson from Stigma is what I think his company name is. But he did both of our album covers, the Justice Falls one and the Glory and Ruin album, the first one. And our previous metal band that we did, that was under another band name called Aura Sonata, and I did the album cover for that one using all of my amazing Photoshop skills. But it came out pretty cool. But the only artificial intelligence that I used was this one. It's definitely not real.
His brain.
It's linked to the cosmos.
I would like to get your opinion. Actually, something I've kind of thought of, and I've seen like a lot of backlash from any kind of artist using any kind of AI in any kind of capacity.
Yeah.
And it seems to me and that a lot of like musicians nowadays are very, very threatened by the use of AI.
Yeah.
And I can see it both ways. And so, but for one, maybe I'm trying to figure out the right wording, but if your art can be duplicated by a computer, you could make the argument, well, maybe your stuff isn't that original, or because the computer is just taking what's already been done and rearranging it to something random, almost, you know?
Yeah.
And if your work is so iterative, is it that it could be produced by an AI? Is it as valuable as you think it is? Just posing that question. But I'm not saying it's. But then, as computers evolve, and especially AI gets more and more sophisticated, there really probably will be a moment where it becomes so advanced that it's composing Mozart symphonies completely original, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think we're we're probably already there, even, honestly. I've like, it's funny. It's like I see, you know, and no offense to boomers, but I've seen boomers on Facebook. They'll, you know, post memes or photos of, you know, like we got the election coming up, like things that they think really happened. And I'm like, dude, that's an AI photo. Like, that's not real. Like, you're getting upset over something that's not real, you know, but they can't tell. And it's true. Like, there's been a couple times when it's like I saw an AI illustration and I had to do a double take and go, whoa, is that real? Like, and you know, it wasn't. And it's just like, oh my goodness, this is getting really disturbing. I do think that there's certain ways that it can be used ethically. Like, for example, you know, as a writer, say I'm writing an article and I could tell it, like, these are the logical points that I want to make. So, you know, write this outline for me. And then based on that outline, you know, it's gotten the time consuming work out of the way for me. And then I can go back through and I can make it my own, and I can make it original, and I can fill in that outline, kind of like, you know, like it was the skeleton of the article, and now I'm just going through and just making it my own thing. And I think that's, you know, there's a practical way you can use AI, and I don't think there's anything wrong with doing the same thing with songwriting. You know, you could you could tell AI, you know, this is the melody that I have, you know, figure out the chords, or, you know, what have you. And because
I guarantee you, if you go on Amazon, get yourself a chord progression book. Every chord progression you could possibly think of has already been done.
It's yeah,
you know?
And it's essentially what our brains do. I mean, when I'm writing a song, yes, it's my original work, but at the same time, I'm basing that off of all my experiences, all my knowledge, all the music I've listened to. So it's like, I mean, yes, it's mine, but at the same time, it's, you know.
I think it's like some of my songs, I think that the composition is so weird that you'd have to be mentally ill to think of to do it that way anyways. It doesn't make any sense. It makes sense to me, but
that's not true.
But
no, you still have
makes sense to me, but nobody else. That's fine.
Well, okay. So you do have very complex, and I think I don't think that it's weird per se. Like, I think you have just a more classical way of looking at music, you know? So you're not thinking in turn like most pop musicians or folk musicians, you know, singer-songwriters like myself, we're thinking verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, or verse, bridge, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus.
Forgot all the interludes.
Well, yeah, but you take, I mean, I feel like you could write a song that was just this long organic thing that didn't really have, you know, if you wanted to, you could absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people I don't know if they're criticizing me, but they would say, oh, you could probably turn that song into 16 different songs. And I'm like, you know what? I'm cool with that. That means it doesn't get boring to me. So
yeah.
If I have to listen to the song 1,000 times while I'm writing it or producing it or something, I don't want to get bored. That's just me.
Yeah, we can't have that. It's interesting you brought up the whole thing with AI because it's a double-edged sword, as I say here too. Because some of the people I've interviewed in the indie community, they've been saying they have used it mainly just for helping the artwork and maybe some parts like here and there if they really were like limited.
Yeah,
so a bunch of constraints, sure. But
yeah,
you can
absolutely.
You can see where it happens. So
like I think I'm not a Gen Z or I'm too old. I'm too old to change, you know. I'm just going to do it the old way I've been doing it. I'm not going to probably ever like use it to do something. But
yeah. I mean, I've never really been very tech savvy. Like I can make, you know, I can get things done that I need to get done. But when it comes to like learning a new program or something like that, I'm just like, oh.
The most useful thing I've done with ChatGPT is our company asked for feedback. So they asked us a series of questions. And I'm like, well, if I write my answers, my boss is going to know who I am, right? Because he knows how I talk, you know? So I said, I wrote all my answers out and I told ChatGPT, I pasted it and I said, rewrite this and make it sound like Mark Twain wrote it. So that produced some hilarious results. And I just pasted that into the survey. And the best part was my boss read my responses to the entire team, and I'm just sitting there trying to not like bust out laughing. It really was a funny moment.
Yeah, it was
really. Of course, if I laugh, then I give myself away. But yeah, that's probably the best use of AI I could think of. So
yeah,
hide your identity.
Like, oh, you sneaky bastard, you.
The problem is nobody else on my team would have thought to have done that. So
yeah,
I still think he probably knew.
I'm sure he was like, "There's no way."
Of course, if you ever listen to this podcast, then I'm totally hooked.
You're totally in trouble, man. But tread carefully with AI, so we'll see what happens down the road.
Yeah. Yes.
But
yeah.
I guess since we've been talking about social media here a little bit, I guess first off, what social media are you guys on?
I mean, I'm on Facebook, on and off Facebook, because I use it for, you know, trying to promote my music.
As far as music goes, YouTube, Bandcamp, is Bandcamp count as social media?
I don't think so, but we actually, me and her do a YouTube channel for our band Flame Imperishable. Where we do reactions to songs, you know.
Yeah.
And we found that was actually a really great way to market our own music too. So bands, you know, people love listening to reactions. So, you know, we have a thing or two, we have some opinions about stuff. We air it, and most people enjoy watching that stuff. And then we sneak in our own music, you know, and it's like, so that's been a really good way to market. And it doesn't cost any money. You don't have to pay for advertising like on Facebook or YouTube for that.
Yeah, I've found Facebook and Instagram to be pretty limiting. Like I've tried to market stuff on there and it just doesn't seem to get much traction. I don't know if they want you.
I think they hide your posts unless you pay for advertising.
Yeah, probably so. And so it's hard, you know, when you're an indie on a budget. It's like I don't want to spend $100 and just have nothing happen. So it's kind of, I don't know, kind of turned me off to Facebook a little bit. It's like, well, if I felt like you were working now, then I might pay to make you work better, but I don't feel like you're even working now. So
she's a big time Twitter.
Oh yeah.
You've got lots of followers.
Yeah, I've got almost 35,000. But it's mostly like for my writing stuff. So it's mostly like theology, and I work as a it's more like it's volunteer work, but it's definitely work. I volunteer as a victim advocate in the church and for different organizations. So if a child has been abused, or say a pastor wants to learn how to handle a situation of abuse wisely and safely, they contact me, and I help walk them through that whole process, and file any reports with law enforcement, and get the victim any help that they need and make sure that they're safe. And so if you check me out on X, just heads up, that's mostly what I tweet about.
And I tweet about nothing.
Well, every so often you like tweet like a band
I just
video
share
or
stuff.
something.
Share memes. That's all I do.
That's fair enough. So I thought Twitter was getting a little too toxic these days on top of Reddit.
Yeah, well, especially this happens every election cycle. Every election cycle, I'm like, why am I here? It just feels like everybody's just so angry and divided. You can't really discuss ideas, which is really sad, because I think that social media could be such a wonderful platform for exchanging ideas, and we really shouldn't be getting angry at other people for thinking differently than ourselves. We should be learning from each other and comparing ideas. What?
It depends what they think.
What? But I actually enjoy talking to people who think differently than me, because I feel like either I learn from them and I grow in my own beliefs, or I just become more solid in my own beliefs. It's like, well, this is why I think what I think, because I disagree with that over there. And so I enjoy it, but it's unfortunately nowadays rare that you can find other people willing to
have discourse.
Have discourse and stay calm and not resort to name calling and insanity. So it gets a little stressful.
I guess while we're on that topic here, would that be part of your advice you'd give to musicians and people, both on social media, I guess, even in your neck of the woods?
Well, I have some advice to give since you asked.
Oh.
I would advise musicians to avoid politics.
Yeah.
Because it's very divisive to your fan base.
Yeah.
And stop. Just don't cancel some people just because you disagree with them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just me noticing, but it seems like, at least in the metal community, they're a bunch of whiny little babies, and everyone's like calling foul on somebody else because, so and so did this. During COVID they played a concert, so we should cancel them because they don't care about people, and it's like, come on, guys, just Well, and I feel like too, especially with social media having been around as long as it has, there is like a 120% chance that at some point we've all said something profoundly stupid, and that could get dug up and we could get canceled. And man, I'm just praying that if I never run for office and then somebody from like high school says so and so said this back then, I'm like, I'll never live that one down.
And so I feel like, obviously there's certain things that, when we're talking about criminal things, or really evil things, that's one thing. But a lot of times we're not. We're just talking about different opinions, and we don't like someone else because they think differently. And so, I would just encourage a lot of mercy, a lot of grace, kindness, because especially, and this goes back to just recognizing that we're all human too. At some point, I'm going to say something dumb, you're going to say something dumb, and in that moment, we're going to want people to be kind. We're going to want people to be merciful. So let's be that to other people. Let's hey, let's be the change that we want to see in the world, and if we want to be peacemakers, well, then we have to be peaceful. We have to promote kindness and understanding and
Speak for yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
put her on the spot there.
But yeah, so that would be my advice. And
I have a hard time not teasing people.
You do. Well, yeah, you kind of have, you're kind of a big brother in that way, but you do it in a friendly sort of way. You're not like a hateful or angry person. That's different. Teasing people and mocking people is totally, I feel, a different thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like, brother Yoshi's all over the place with that mustache of his. So.
No, yeah, I didn't wax it up today, but I'm thinking about entering some competitions. Maybe it's a little bit longer. So.
Was it Mario Kart competitions?
No, they have mustache, beard, and mustache competitions throughout all over the country.
He's actually part of a Facebook group where these guys all have these extravagant mustaches. It's amazing. I don't know.
It's a thing. It's a hobby.
Yeah.
And I've got like 15 different kinds of wax I use depending on what day it is or what I'm in the mood for.
Yeah.
So it's become part of my identity.
You definitely go for the Mark Twain look next. So
There you go.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to get a pipe though, or a cigar or something.
Yeah.
What are you trying to go for the Mario when Halloween comes around in about a month?
You should.
No, it wasn't Mario. There's a character in Street Fighter 3 who has a big handlebar mustache. He's a boxer. Might go with him. And then there's we watch a lot of anime. There's another character in Seven Deadly Sins who's got a big mustache like that. Yeah, there's lots of different costumes I could do with this thing.
That's true.
Dye black, and then you do the guy from One Piece, Goldie Roger. So.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter is obsessed with One Piece right now, so she'd probably love that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. She's 12 and she told me recently one of her goals in life is to watch all of One Piece. She's like, if I watch all of One Piece, will you guys give me a prize? And I'm like, no.
What, a prize for watching 10,000 hours of TV?
No, babe, that's not happening.
I don't want to encourage that.
I mean, she's got goals, but yeah.
The wrong kind of ones.
Yeah.
Might need to reorient those goals.
Maybe well, if it were a book, I wouldn't mind, but yeah.
Is it the anime or is it the live action one? I think they're doing a live action One Piece now.
Oh, it's really good. But yeah, she's watching the anime, but I really enjoy the live action one. It's really fun.
It's kind of funny. We watched the live action first, and then we started watching the anime after that.
Yeah. But they captured the characters really well, though.
Yeah. It was well done.
And they're telling the story pretty faithfully
At least in the first season. But I don't know what happens in the second season.
Yeah,
they condensed probably the first 100 episodes of One Piece into like 8 episodes in the live action one. So
yeah. But it's not hard to do because like in the
there's a lot of filler.
In the anime, it's funny. It's like, for example, there's this whole, I don't know, season isn't the right word, but like
a story arc of like one battle that takes like 6 episodes.
Yes, they're fighting some guy with a shark head, and it's like, somebody will be stuck, underwater in a chain to an anvil or something, and like for 5 episodes, he's like trying to get to the top, and I'm like, dude, how did you stretch this out this much? But so in the live action, they compacted that all down to 10 or 12 episodes or whatever it was, and I liked it a lot.
Okay. I do remember watching the One Piece anime back in the day, but then I lost interest at some point. I think it was because it was on Toonami. It was late at night. So
yeah.
Gotta get up and go
to
school. So yeah.
There's hundreds of episodes. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Unless you just devote the rest of your life to watching it, I feel like you have to step away at some point.
It's true.
Maybe. That's a good luck. So. Yeah.
But yes, our daughter's working through it.
Slowly and painfully.
Yes.
And just as last question here before we jump into the fun ones, but I guess what challenges have you guys faced these days being musicians?
I think it's just, time to work on our music. That's the biggest challenge. He's got a full-time job. I've got my volunteer work. We have 3 kids, and a dog, and it's hard to
And a cat.
And a cat. But the cat doesn't really require a whole lot of investment. As long as he's got clean litter, he's happy. So it's not like he's not like a huge time suck. But just balancing that schedule and working in time to work on music, that's the main challenge, I would say.
Yeah, for me, definitely just time. When I get home from work, sometimes my mental capacity is a little drained. So
Yeah.
I do reserve my weekends are very sacred to me and my time. So I almost will never like plan something, especially Saturday morning. That's when I get up early by myself before anybody gets up, and I work on music projects, and I just make that my priority. That's kind of my thing. And then I will get home from work sometimes, and I'll have still energy left to go work on some stuff, depends what I'm working on.
Yeah.
But especially with guitar, keeping my skills up. If I try to kind of view it like exercising, like going to the gym or something, you have to keep up the dexterity and the speed in your hands, and if I go like several days without practicing, then I get noticeably worse at guitar. So I get, it's like with anything, you get back to it, just being consistent. So that's usually the biggest struggle for me, is just being consistent and keeping at it, especially with all of my other obligations, family, work, life, it's but it's just a season of life we're in. Kids are still young, and they require a lot of attention. So
Well, it's like this. Yeah, this morning we're getting ready for church, and my daughter Gwen, she's 8. She decided to turn the stove on, and she grilled herself a grilled Nutella sandwich by herself while I was putting my makeup on. So it's just, an example of,
happened.
Yeah. I was like, I am so glad that you did not burn the house down. But yes.
Or her get burned herself.
Yeah.
Just add a few gray hairs to my hair right now. So
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But also, Jason, practicing is at least prerequisite for guitar work. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you just got to make it fun and enjoy what you do. If it's not fun, then you're not going to want to do it. So, something I've been doing for almost 30 years now. 27 years.
Yeah, I was going to say not quite that much.
I'm not that old, but I am pretty old.
You're not that old. You started playing when you were 16.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I can't do the math in my head.
Okay.
I don't know how long it's been.
As long as you got to 4, we're okay. That's all that matters. So.
24.
Like 24.
27 years. I've been playing guitar
okay.
27 years. You'd think I'd be better by now, with all that time.
All right. Then. Okay. So, Jason and Jennifer, we are now down to the fun questions right here. So, ready?
All right. Mm-hmm.
So, start with the first one. Jennifer, what would you say is currently your favorite food?
Food. I really like sushi. I've learned to make sushi by hand, and I have a lot of fun doing that. I also like making pasta by hand, though, so it's kind of a toss-up.
Well, a little Italian side, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jason?
My favorite, that's tough. I guess I do like chocolate a lot.
That's true. Yes.
Pizza, lasagna, eggplant parmesan.
A lot of Italian.
Beef tenderloin steaks, shepherd's pie.
I was like, man, you are rail thin for what you eat.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I don't eat it every day, but yeah. Sometimes I just really like a good cheeseburger.
Yep.
Pretty simple. Doesn't have to be uberly complex. And I really like cannolis.
Yes.
A good cannoli, not like the HEB kind or grocery store kind.
They don't load up with sugar. That was a little too sweet for me.
Yeah.
It's actually one of my coworkers' birthdays, and he's obviously Italian, but he really dug the cannolis was his birthday cake, to say the least. So.
Oh, fun.
Nice.
That's cool. That's something different, you know?
That's for sure. Now, funny enough, his birthday was shared with somebody else, so we had cheesecake also. So you can imagine what's going on. So.
I love cheesecake.
Yeah, I'm lactose intolerant, so it's always kind of really upset my stomach. So I've avoided it, although I do like it. But yeah,
I like to be brutalized. It helps my spirit. So. Okay. And Jennifer, here for the next one. What would you say is currently your favorite movie?
Oh boy. You know, the funniest movie I've seen lately that I really, really enjoyed was Wicked Little Letters. Hilarious. It's it's definitely all the actors are British. It's a British movie. And it's based on a real story. So like after I think it's World War II. There's it takes place in this little British town, and someone starts sending these nasty anonymous letters using profanities in a really funny sort of way. Like it's very over the top and dramatic and insane, like completely deranged anonymous letters. And so it's basically the story of how the local cops wrongly accused this, I think she's an Irish immigrant, and then how the local women and one of the first women cops unravels the mystery and figures out who is sending these wicked little letters. And I watched it on an airplane to San Francisco. We went to San Francisco on vacation, and I watched it on the airplane. But of course, anytime you watch a movie on an airplane, you get interrupted by other passengers having to use the restroom, or the captain's announcements and stuff. And so I knew I loved it, and then I was able to watch it for real with my family recently, so it was pretty funny. Good movie.
I don't think I've ever seen it, but
I think it's new. I think it is, or newish.
Netflix,
yeah, it's on Netflix, but I don't know if it was. I assume it was in theater, but I don't keep track.
All right, I'll check it at some point. But Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't limit one, but I will say I'll list my favorites were Count of Monte Cristo, the Rocky, Lord of the Rings. Obviously, all three of them are considered one movie, the extended versions. Forrest Gump,
Gladiator,
Braveheart,
Frequency,
Princess Bride. Yeah.
Yes, that's a great one.
What am I missing? I know I'm missing movies. Back to the Future, the first one, and the second one actually. The second one's one of my favorites. What else am I missing?
I said Gladiator. You
no, I'm missing something. The Scarlet Pimpernel.
Oh yeah,
it's a really good movie.
That's
and the movie Contact.
Contact is really good with Jodie Foster. Yeah.
Frailty. Another Matthew McConaughey movie. And probably about 170 more. So,
Lord of the Rings, Terminator, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Terminator 2 is actually my favorite, even though we have Terminator 1 movie poster back there, but it's just a cool poster. Can you see it? I'm not sure, but
it's a badass. Yeah.
Yeah, and Sylvester Stallone's one of my all-time favorites. So anything that he's in, I automatically love. So Rambo,
Creed,
I guess so. But the Rocky movies, for sure.
He's in Tulsa King, a TV series.
We love the first season, so I'm kind of waiting until season 2 is completely out, and then I'll subscribe to Paramount for like a week. I'll watch it and then I'll cancel it again. I've got too many subscriptions. I don't need to keep. I'll just wait till the show comes out and then I'll.
Yeah, that's funny.
Just do it that way. Okay.
Yeah.
Great choices nonetheless. I don't know if any of you guys drink alcohol, but if you do, what would your favorite alcoholic drinks and non-alcoholic drinks?
I like whiskey, particularly like what is it called? Smoky, like from Islay, the Islay Island ones.
Okay.
Those are my favorites. And I like red wine. I'm not particularly picky when it comes to red wine. Basically, we pick our wines based on the label. It's like, this is a pretty label. Let's try that. It's not, we're not super educated when it comes to that sort of thing. But yeah, I like to relax and have a glass of wine. And yeah, don't tend to I occasionally will like to have a margarita, but I like them to be more bitter than sweet. And there's this place near our house actually that does mango margaritas, and you can get the tahini on the outside, so it's really spicy on the outside, and I like that a lot.
My absolute favorite drink of all time is coffee. I don't think I could live without it. I drink it all the time.
I was thinking of
I brew
alcohol.
my own coffee at work. I've got my own French press there. I've got a mocha pot on the stove that I do my stovetop stuff.
Yes.
And as far as alcoholic beverages, for beer, I like IPAs. That's kind of my go-to. Any kind of IPA, it's usually good. I do like red wine, Scotch, and whiskey. Definitely like sipping on that. But I try to limit how much I drink, because when I do have that, I tend to, you know how that goes. If it's around the house, I end up drinking more than I should. So we just do that for special occasions, vacation time.
It kind of kills your creativity too. So it's like, I don't know, it's like
productivity.
Yeah. So it's like, I feel so relaxed. I was planning to write a song. Oh, well.
But there's nothing better, after you've had a hard day of whatever.
Working really hard, yeah.
Pour yourself a little scotch or whiskey. Go sit on the couch with your recliner and play some Skyrim or something.
Oh, yeah. That's the best. I'm not really a big beer person, but I do like bourbon barrel beers. There's one, what is it, St. Arnold, I think?
I don't know.
It's a Texas
There's a lot of them
brewery, but they have this bourbon barrel Hellfighter is what it's called, and I really, really like it. So, yes.
All right, that's some great choices right there. Well, then I'm not big into IPAs. It soured my mood for some reason when I tried a couple.
Oh, yeah.
So, let's see why.
Yeah, some of it could be a little bitter and hoppy, but...
Yeah.
Okay. And for the last fun questions right here, I guess, what would you say is currently a favorite song in the mainstream world? And if you have one from the indie community, feel free to share.
You go first.
So boy.
So I have time to think.
Oh, boy. Okay. I think my favorite, from the pop world, would be Taylor Swift's Anti-Hero. I just find it humorous. The lyrics are clever. It's moody and kind of dark and weird, and that's just what I tend to like. As far as indie music goes, gosh, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I've been actually revisiting a lot of bands that I listened to in my early 20s recently, just kind of feeling nostalgic, and revisiting those bands. And so I've been listening to a band called My Brightest Diamond. And I think they're actually quite popular, or it's a single artist, I believe. I think she's actually quite popular now, but of course, when I was a kid listening to her, I think she was more indie. So, but yeah, that's the closest probably I can think off the top of my head.
I always say this, my all-time favorite song is "And Then There Was Silence" from Blind Guardian. Yeah. That's the last song on their Night at the Opera album. 13 minutes of just epic awesomeness about the sack of Troy. Mm-hmm. So have you heard the song? Or
I'm not too familiar with Blind Guardian. I've heard the name a few times, but I haven't really checked out their music too much. But go ahead.
It's a really good song.
It's a cool song because it has such awesome themes going throughout, and it's really well composed, where like it brings back motifs and melodies in a organic sort of way, as kind of what I've always tried to do, in my own stuff. So it's like the perfect template for me to try to learn from, composition wise. And there's so much going on in the song. It's very like deep. Every time you listen to it, especially on a nice set of headphones or speaker monitors, you pick up a new thing you hadn't noticed before. There's some sort of little detail that you just escaped your notice, and it's like listening to it for the first time every time. And it's the only song I've kind of felt that way about. So, but that one, and you said pop songs, right? Our daughters, like they're into pop music quite a bit, and like one song, it's kind of grown on me, and it's silly and funny, but I kind of like it, is a Meghan Trainor song called No.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you heard it, but
It's just funny.
it is pretty funny. And so it's basically about a guy who is hitting on this girl, and she's not interested, and she keeps telling him no.
And it's all the creative ways that she tells him no, and it's really funny.
So, and as a father of 3 daughters, I think that's a healthy song for them to listen to. Not all of her other songs are very good to listen to for the kids, but that one in particular is kind of fun. So.
I mean, there's the Guile song with A, B, C, D, F, U.
Oh, yes. I like that one a lot. That's funny.
Is that, who is that by?
Gail.
Gail, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
I don't know if I've heard that.
Yeah, you probably have. It's really funny.
You have to show it to me, yeah.
Love you and your da 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 da. And she goes through everybody but your dog. You can all F off. And it's like the dog is like the one person or creature in his life that she's like, but I'm still friends with your dog.
Huh.
It's really funny.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, with the kids listening to pop music, I've never really listened to it ever. So they're kind of introducing me to all this stuff. So I'm like, some of it's not bad, like I like a handful of Taylor Swift songs now.
Yeah.
I never even knew what she sounded like until about a year ago.
Well, and a lot of times too, the ones that they play on like the the radio, or like on over the speaker at the grocery store or whatever, it's like the most poppy ones, that they have. And if you start to actually listen to their music, there's other songs on their albums that it's like, oh, this is actually creative and artistic. It's not, it's not one of those radio ready songs, and therefore it's actually fun to listen to. But yeah, it's funny. Like I've been trying, because they're little. So our oldest is 12. I mean, we have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old. And so I've been trying to help them make decisions about like, okay, this song is not appropriate for a kid your age. This one's good. And it's been really funny because there was this one Taylor Swift song, and I can't remember which one it was now, but she's singing about sex. And so I told my oldest, I was like, well, what do you think she's singing about? And she's like, embarrassing things. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. Cause she's singing about like all the things she wants to do. And then, so then I asked my 10-year-old,
in my dreams.
Yes. Yeah. In my dreams. Yeah. We'll do this, and that. And she doesn't go into detail. It's like all innuendo. And so I was like, what do you think this is about? And my 10-year-old just copies my 12-year-old. And she's like, I think she's singing about embarrassing things. And so I was like, okay. And then I asked my 8-year-old, I was like, well, what do you think she's singing about? She's like, I don't know. Maybe she wants to go on a picnic. I don't know. I was like, well, okay. I'm glad it's just going right over your head. But it's fun, though. And I find it, I know a lot of parents, I don't know. I come from a kind of fundamentalistic Christian background, and my parents would like very much try to control and, put us in a bubble and say, you can't listen to this or that. I've actually.
Well, they hated me when I.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, they didn't like Jason.
I introduced her to Opeth.
Oh my gosh! Yes. Yeah. My parents did not know what to do with that. But with our kids, I mean, I find it's like this is an opportunity to talk with your kids. I mean, to work through these topics, because if you don't talk with your kids about these things, then somebody else will. And it's probably going to be some dumb kid at school or something, or
somebody
their friends,
that doesn't have their best interest at heart.
Right. Or they'll learn about it on YouTube or something. And it's like, I would much rather have these conversations and, explain things correctly rather than have them get some kind of weird idea from some other kid or some kid's older sibling, I mean, yeah. So I view it more as an opportunity to be a good parent, be involved in their lives, and help them cultivate good listening habits, and so it's great. It's great that they're listening to music, and they actually have pretty good taste. So
most of the time.
Every so often, I'm like, there's this one song that they keep playing. It's called "I'm a Banana," and that's literally all it says. It's like "I'm a banana" over and over and over again, like a million times. And I'm just like, I cannot. Like, I love you, but turn that off. Like, go in another room. Just no.
Get out of your system.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be doing the Baby Shark one next. So.
Yeah. Oh, we went through the Baby Shark phase.
Needless to say, we probably dropped some words that we probably shouldn't have.
Yeah. There's only so much that one person can take.
Actually, I don't know how we got off on pop, because I don't think you guys mentioned like what your favorite independent artist was.
Oh, yeah.
Independent. I guess Blind Guardian doesn't count as independent, do they?
No, not anymore, no. Well, there's always Greg's band.
John Denver. No, that's not independent.
No.
Well, when you say independent, do you mean like a solitary person?
No, like DIYing their stuff. Like they don't have a record label. Right? Yeah.
So obviously Flame Imperishable is my favorite. No.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of underground metal bands I kind of like. Judicator.
Yeah.
Now you catch me off guard. Now I'm think of a bunch of names in my head, But what do you think? Yeah, I'm kind of a blank slate when it comes to that. I don't know.
I guess while you're thinking on that here too, I was just gonna say there's a group called Band Together on Facebook. That's where independent artists come together. So I don't know if you guys heard about it. So I recommend you guys join us.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Yeah.
Band Together. Okay, cool. I'll look that up. Yeah, I hate to say it, but I just don't know a whole lot outside of my own little bubble. I probably need to venture out more and know more about what other people are doing. Because my head's usually down and working on my own thing. And
yeah, we've been you've been kind of like composing a lot recently too, which a lot of times when he's in kind of composer mode, he just listens to his own whatever he's working on over and over again. And so he gets I think we both do. We get kind of off on our own little planet when it comes to music.
Yeah, I'm guilty. So, but I enjoy it, and keeps me young, brain wise. Now that I'm approaching 70 years old.
He thought he was like fun of himself, so yeah.
He's aged so well, though.
I do look good for 70.
You look great for 70.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're right.
I don't know if there was anything Jennifer wanted to add, or did you want to move on to the last question?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Actually, before we jump into the last question, I guess, did you guys have any questions for me or any final words you want to say before we jump into it?
No, just thank you for reaching out to us, and this has been really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's
I hope we should do this again, or I'm interested to hear what your music now. So you'll have to add me on Facebook or whatnot, and we'll definitely see what's going on.
You just look for me. I don't have a band page yet, so work our way there. So. If there's nothing else, here's how the last question will go. And Jennifer, here you can go first. So, given what COVID has done, obviously you guys have been pretty blessed. But didn't really get impacted. Among one of the lucky ones, because I know in some other interviews, some people said they weren't really impacted too bad by COVID. But for those musicians and people who've been impacted in their lives by COVID or anything else in their lives, what's their message of hope to give to musicians and people out there as we try to move forward in a post-COVID world?
I would say that, as musicians, we have an opportunity to, what's that?
It's working? Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I would say that as musicians, one of the blessings of being a musician is that we get to express not only our own sorrows and frustrations and feelings through our music, but also we empathize strongly with others, and we can use our music to sympathize with others, to help them feel not so alone, and to help them process through a lot of the grief that comes with, whether it's losing a loved one, losing employment, the financial struggles, or if you've been sick yourself and you just can't recover fully. There's so many things that people have gone through lately that I think are just a tremendous challenge. And so I would just encourage, other musicians, sing about that, write about that, express that through your music, and work it into your songs, your storytelling. It's a wonderful way to process what you've been through, what you're going through, and also to encourage others. I'm a child abuse survivor myself, and so I've really used music a lot to grieve, to process my anger, my sorrow, feelings of loneliness, abandonment. And I think that a lot of very similar feelings resulted from COVID, because so many of us, either we got sick ourselves, maybe we lost loved ones, like I said, maybe we lost a job, maybe our industry has dramatically shrunk and it's just still really hard to get a job. And so, I would just say, hang in there, keep writing your music, and network with other musicians. One of the blessings of social media is that we can reach out to each other, we can help each other out. So if you ever feel alone, if you ever feel isolated, frustrated that, maybe your local scene isn't as active as it was before COVID, reach out, tap into those online scenes, and don't give up.
Okay. And Jason, if you want to throw anything in?
She said it pretty well. I would just say that, we were talking about AI before, and it just got me thinking, is like one of the things that makes humans so beautiful and capable of such amazing art is all of the difficult things we've gone through, together. That's where real beautiful art comes from, is from raw emotion and maybe coming out through a difficult situation. And especially, with her background, it's like, it really does become your strongest, it becomes your strength. You're getting through a difficult time can be a strength and help you to persevere and kind of come through a situation. But we're all just kind of trying to fumble our way through as best we can, imperfectly. And some of us go through a really difficult string of circumstances, and even no matter how hard it is, it's not always going to last, and things will get better.
Yeah.
And just don't give up. Just continue to strive for and do things that make you happy and that you're passionate about, because that's what it's all about, is just expressing yourself in a way that will bring hope and joy to other people. So
Yeah.
Spoke like a bunch of true prodigies. There. There. So thank you guys so much for sharing right there. It really does mean a lot. Right.
Thank you.
thanks.
Right. So Jennifer and Jason, we've reached in my pockets right here. Boy, we almost talked for about 2 hours right here, but hey, the extent of a nice movie here. So right. It's all good here
Thank
too.
you so much.
Yeah, it's
no
really
worries.
fun.
Actually, before we do close, you want to give any shout outs and I guess any other final words before we close?
I will shout out to bryangribbin for thanking you for having us on.
Absolutely.
And just anybody who hasn't, please, check out our song, our music. We're on all the streaming platforms too. So
yeah, and reach out directly too. If you have questions, if you have stories you want to share, or if you want us to check out your music,
Yeah, I would love to network with other artists, and promote you on our page, and vice versa. It doesn't matter. But we also, like I said, we do a reaction page. So if you've got a song or something that you want us to react to, just send it our way, and we'll talk. So
yeah, and we'll be nice too. We're not gonna if something just doesn't click with us, we're not gonna be like trashing you on YouTube or something like that.
Well, we need to be honest.
Well, I'm not saying, I'm just not the sort of person, like if I love a song, absolutely I'll do a reaction, but if for whatever reason it's not clicking with me, I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm not, don't be worried. I'm not going to be like,
you can tell she really
sucks.
doesn't love a song when she just doesn't say anything.
That's not true. Well, no, you know how it is.
It's like I was taught not to say anything if you can't say something nice, right?
Well, yes, I was, but it's also just because I want to be a kind person. So sometimes
What kind of person?
He's hilarious, isn't he?
Yeah.
No, sometimes I can intellectually tell that a song is really, really good. Like, for example, take Johnny Cash, right? He's brilliant. He's a brilliant, brilliant artist. I click with like 2 of his songs, and it has nothing to do with his talent or anything to do with his music. It's just that for whatever reason, it just doesn't click with me. So all I was trying to say was that, I don't know. If it doesn't click with me, then it's fine. It's not personal. I don't know. You like made me way overthink this.
I don't know. I'm sorry I got myself on that tangent. But thank you for having us. And,
absolutely. Thank you.
We're very grateful. So.
Okay. I do got an EP coming out sometime in around Halloween, so I think you'll be the first one to review it. So
that'd be great. Well, maybe we can start a podcast too. That'd be fun. I guess we kind of do that with the reaction videos, but
we could listen to the EP on the. You guys doing a music video or anything for it, or?
I don't know about that. I mean, that'd be pretty funny.
Still listen though. Yeah.
Cool.
I guess is it mostly music videos, or do you also do it with just the artwork going on in the background?
We could do both. Yeah, either would work.
Yeah, my version of a music video is just playing through the entire song.
It's just a video of him playing a song.
I'm not getting all artsy with, stuff.
To be fair, that's I think the best music videos, in my opinion. Because every so often, I'll really love a song, and then I watch the music video, and I'm like, that was like watching someone's weird dream. What even was that? And it ruins the song for me. And so I actually prefer music videos where it's it's like watching a concert. I think that's really cool. So that's just me.
We're old fogies.
Like being old. Those self-esteem now. I think he's got low self-esteem right now. All right. And just real quick, can you just mention the social media and stream platforms you guys are on?
All of them, I believe. Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, YouTube, Tidal, Pandora. What else is there? iHeartRadio or something like that.
Like what's called Deezer, yeah.
Deezer, yeah. Basically, we go through DistroKid, so that automatically licenses it out to pretty much every streaming platform.
Yeah, it makes it really easy.
So
yeah.
So it should be out on all of those. But I think the best place to listen to our music is on Bandcamp because you get the highest fidelity version of those songs.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you use Tidal. Tidal does a higher quality stream there. So, but I don't know how many people use Tidal nowadays, but
I think a fair amount now because of what Spotify is doing. But
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I might. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'll actually have to check that out because I haven't even really looked into it yet. So.
Yeah.
all right, that's good. But to close out like this, so everyone, I guess today we're Jennifer and Jason Greenberg, hailing from the lovely state of Texas, and Houston, Texas, to be more exact. So part of the band Flame Imperishable. Just want to make sure. Yep, Flame Imperishable. So make sure I pronounce it right here too. So Flame Imperishable. So go hit them up on all the socials and everything. Let's go up our brother and sister out right down there, and go hit them up, and go check them out on all streaming platforms as well. So Jennifer and Jason, y'all stay safe because it is a crazy world out there.
Yes, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.